Welcome to This Explainer. When we think of stadiums, we almost always just picture them as venues for sport, right? We think of places filled with the smell of stadium food, the electric hum of tens of thousands of cheering fans, halftime shows, and just the pure, unadulterated thrill of the game. But today, we're actually going to look at these massive, iconic structures through a completely different lens. We're going to explore how stadiums are, well, they're far more than just arenas. They are, in fact, silent witnesses to our global history and some pretty profound cultural transformations. Over the centuries, these colossal civic spaces have been shaped by the fiery engines of the Industrial Revolution, twisted by ambitious political regimes, haunted by unimaginable tragedies, and then continually reborn through the absolute cutting edge of modern engineering. It's an incredible, sprawling journey, so let's get right into it. Okay, let's dive into this by looking at a remarkably powerful phrase. A people without a memory are a people without a future. These words are actually permanently and prominently inscribed right on the wall of the Estadio Nacional in Chile. And wow, it's a stark, emotional reminder that stadiums aren't just concrete bowls where games are played. They are monumental stages where human history actually happens, where both our darkest hours and our greatest triumphs are recorded in real time. This single quote really proves that these massive public spaces hold the collective memories of entire nations. So how did we get here? Where did the concept of gathering tens of thousands of people into a single, awe-inspiring structure actually begin? Well, to deeply understand the modern stadium, we have to trace its roots all the way back to antiquity. We start in ancient Greece, specifically the sacred grounds of Olympia, which served as the very first true prototypes for mass sporting arenas. Fast forward a few centuries, and ancient Rome gives us the Colosseum. Now, this was a true feat of early engineering. It could remarkably hold over 50,000 spectators, and get this, it was so advanced it could even be flooded to host elaborate mock naval battles. For over a millennium, these magnificent ancient stone amphitheaters were the absolute gold standard for human gathering. But then, as we jump all the way forward to the late 1890s in England, the dawn of the industrial age sparked a revolution that completely changed the trajectory of how humans gathered for entertainment. So this jump to the industrial era brought a really dramatic contrast in materials and purpose. We went from ancient, labor-intensive stone blocks to the rapid, efficient assembly of industrial iron and timber. Pioneers of early stadium architecture, like the legendary Archibald Leach, utilized these brand-new industrial materials to quickly design and construct spaces like Goodison Park and Celtic Park. And you've got to understand, these weren't just buildings. They were the literal physical groundwork for modern football culture. They allowed the booming working-class masses to gather in unprecedented numbers every single weekend, which completely transformed the fabric of urban social life. The stadium had officially become an industrial machine for entertainment, creating a shared weekend ritual for thousands of factory workers. Moving into our next section, arenas of power and politics. As we rolled into the 20th century, the role of the stadium shifted drastically once again. They were no longer just community gathering spots for local sports clubs. Governments and empires realized the immense psychological influence these structures held. The sheer scale of a stadium made it a highly potent symbol of national identity and political might. There is perhaps no better example of this than the 1936 Berlin Olympic Stadium. Architecturally, this was an undeniable marvel of its time, designed to seat a staggering 100,000 spectators. But historically, it was built by the Nazi regime specifically to serve as a massive propaganda machine. The regime actually temporarily removed anti-Semitic signs and softened its most visible forms of persecution for the duration of the games, explicitly to project a false, peaceful image to the visiting international community. They fully intended the stadium to showcase an ideology of Aryan athletic supremacy. However, history famously defied them on their own heavily curated stage, when African-American sprinter Jesse Owens won 4 gold medals, permanently undercutting that narrative in front of the entire world. Following the profound darkness and global devastation of the 1930s and World War II, stadiums took on a new life. They became beacons of mid-century sporting joy and massive cultural resurgence. Enter the Maracanã in Brazil, completed just in time for the 1950 World Cup. It notoriously packed in nearly 200,000 people for the final match. That is a staggering attendance record that still boggles the mind today. This wasn't just a place to watch a football match. It was a monumental symbol of South American national pride and vibrant post-war transformation. It represented a wounded world desperately attempting to heal and unite through the shared global language of sport, standing in stark, beautiful contrast to the militaristic arenas of the previous decade. So the crucial point here is that a stadium is ultimately a reflection of whatever society currently controls it. In September 1973, following a military coup led by General Augusto Pinochet, Chile's Estadio Nacional was tragically converted into a sprawling detention center. Think about that. A public civic space, originally meant for celebration and communal joy, was appropriated for unimaginable cruelty. Today, a specific entry point on the terrace, known as Hatch 8, has been preserved exactly as it was during those dark days. It stands as a solemn, deeply moving monument to the political prisoners who were held there. It ensures that the dark reality of what that particular stadium witnessed is never ever forgotten by future generations.
And that brings us to our next chapter, tragedies that force change.
Beyond the heavy hand of politics, the physical evolution of stadiums is also tragically marked by their own structural flaws. As those massive industrial-era stadiums built in the early 20th century began to rapidly age, their poor zoning and lack of basic safety measures became fatal hazards. For instance, in 1964, at the Estadio Nacional in Lima, an unpopular referee decision caused unrest in the stands. When police fired tear gas into the crowd, panicked fans fled down enclosed stairwells, only to find heavy, corrugated steel exit shutters securely closed at the bottom. 328 people tragically died, mostly from the intense crush against those unyielding shutters. Then, 2 decades later, at the 1985 Hazel Stadium disaster in Brussels, 39 people were killed. The stadium was literally crumbling. The outer wall was made of weak cinder block, and extremely poor ticket zoning allowed fierce rival fans to mix. These structural and organizational failures acted as devastating but pivotal flashpoints that demanded an immediate global response. Which leads us directly into the rebirth of stadium design. Let's move to and see how this builds, because out of these incredibly dark historical moments, the architectural world realized that stadiums could no longer simply be massive, unsafe pens for holding tightly packed crowds. This hard realization directly fueled a modern engineering rebirth across 3 distinct steps. First, we saw early post-war innovations step in to modernize the fan experience, like the introduction of massive floodlights, which allowed for highly dramatic night games, and revolutionary cantilever roofs, which finally removed those annoying structural pillars blocking the fans' views. Then came the vital post-tragedy overhauls. Following deep investigations like the Taylor Report in the UK, massive safety mandates swept the globe. Dangerous pitch-side fencing was permanently torn down, and aging standing terraces were completely replaced with safer all-seater stadiums. This sweeping overhaul paved the way for Step 3, our modern era, where stadiums are intricately designed from the ground up to be incredibly safe, highly eco-friendly, multi-use entertainment hubs. Setting the stage for our final section, modern architectural marvels. And this brilliantly illustrates the absolute crowning achievements of today. Contemporary stadium design has been completely revolutionized into a seamless blend of high art and cutting-edge science by world-renowned architectural firms. Take the awe-inspiring Allianz Arena in Munich. It's renowned across the world for its breathtaking, luminous, color-changing exterior facades that just vividly light up the night sky. Or look at the legendary Santiago Bernabéu in Madrid, which is currently transforming itself from a traditional football ground into a fully integrated daily destination hub for the entire city. And then there's the masterful Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in London, featuring state-of-the-art retractable pitches that can flawlessly switch from a pristine football grass surface to a rugged artificial NFL surface, all while maintaining some of the highest eco-friendly design standards in the world. These spaces are no longer just places for a 90-minute match. They are entirely self-sustaining, technological ecosystems. So, to bring our magnificent story full circle, from the ancient, sun-baked stone ruins of Olympia to the glowing, high-tech architectural marvels of modern London, stadiums have always been far, far more than just venues. They truly are the silent witnesses to our ongoing global transformation. They hold the powerful echoes of political shifts, they carry the incredibly heavy lessons of past tragedies, and today, they stand as triumphant monuments to human safety, relentless innovation, and beautiful unity, literally bringing millions upon millions of people together across different nations and entirely different eras of human history. Now, I really want to hear from you. What is your absolute favorite stadium story? And how has the towering presence of a stadium shaped the culture of your own city? Have you witnessed history being made right from the stands? Drop your thoughts, memories, and experiences in the comments below. I would absolutely love to read them. The next time you step into a stadium, take a long look around and ask yourself, what history is being written right beneath your feet? If you enjoyed this explainer and want to keep diving into the fascinating, untold histories behind the world around us, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thanks for learning with me today, and I'll see you in the next one.